The Phantom Swami. A story from Coffee Bytes by Dr. Vanitha Vaidhyalingam. Cold wind swirled through the cave, its hollow currents echoing against the stone walls. The sound rose into a long, eerie howl, like someone wailing in deep desperation. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow, patient intervals. Each drop struck a stone hollow somewhere in the darkness below. Talk, 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 like the ticking of a clock that had been counting for centuries. Siddhananda sat cross-legged on a slab of rock polished smooth by years of stillness. His spine was straight, his eyes half closed. Outside, the western Ghats were waking to dawn. But inside the cave, time had no meaning. His breathing slowed until it almost vanished. One breath, another. And then the cave dissolved. Siddhananda thought he had died. He had been meditating on the nature of time, watching each breath arise and dissolve. Suddenly, the boundary between breaths disappeared. There was no before, no after, only a vast, silent presence. Then the cave vanished. In its place stood a railway station in Chennai. People rushed past him. Trains screeched. A newspaper fluttered at his feet. He looked down at the paper. The date was tomorrow's. His heart pounded. The vision collapsed, and he was back in the cave, gasping. For months afterward, he refused to meditate on time again. But the Siddhi had already awakened. Soon he realized something terrifying and miraculous. He could travel between the past, present, and future. Sometimes it felt like moving through space. Sometimes through time. Often both. When Siddhananda told his guru, the old man listened silently. Finally, the guru spoke. Power is the easiest trap on the spiritual path. Siddhananda lowered his eyes. Should I renounce it? You cannot renounce gravity, the guru replied. You can only choose where you step. Then he gave a single rule. Never demonstrate the Siddhi for fame, wealth, or ego. If you use it, let it be invisible. Let the world never know. Siddhananda bowed. But the guru added one more sentence before leaving. However, if you can reduce suffering, the universe may have given it to you for a reason. 3 years later, Siddhananda sat in meditation when a ripple passed through his awareness. A disturbance. Like a stone thrown into still water. He saw it clearly, a narrow alley in Delhi. A young woman walking home at night. 2 men stepping out of the shadows. The moment hung in front of him like a frozen photograph. His heart pounded. Is this destiny? Or a possibility? For the first time, he stepped forward. The streetlight flickered in a narrow alley. It buzzed faintly, throwing a sickly yellow glow over cracked concrete and damp brick walls. Rainwater trickled along the gutter. A torn movie poster flapped weakly in the breeze. Footsteps echoed. A young woman hurried through the alley, clutching her bag against her chest. Her sandals slapped nervously against the wet pavement. Behind a dumpster, 2 shapes shifted. One man spat tobacco into the darkness. Wait, he whispered. The other man's fingers tapped the handle of a knife. The woman's footsteps grew louder, closer. Faster her breath fogged in the cool night air. She checked her phone. No signal. Something scraped ahead of her. She stopped walking. She looked around her fearfully and peered into the darkness ahead. Hello. She called, silence. Then the men stepped out right in front of her. The other slowly approached, the knife glinting in the weak light. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Please, she whispered. The knife lifted. And suddenly, someone was standing between them. None of them had heard footsteps. None of them had seen him arrive. A saffron-clad monk stood quietly in the middle of the alley, bare feet on the wet concrete. Rain dripped from the edge of the dumpster. The streetlight hummed. He did not speak. The man with the knife frowned. Where the hell did you? Siddhananda's eyes lifted slowly to meet his. They were calm, too calm. Not angry. Not afraid. Just still. As if the noise of the world could not reach them. The attacker with the knife felt a shiver down his spine. "Move," he snapped, raising the knife. Siddhananda did not move. He spoke only one word: "Leave." The sound was soft, but the alley seemed to swallow it and throw it back with a strange, resonating echo. The man's hand trembled. His grip on the knife suddenly felt weak, slippery. He glanced at his partner. "Let's go," the other man muttered quietly. "Why?" "I don't like this." The knife clattered onto the ground. Both men backed away, then turned and ran down the alley. Their footsteps faded into the night. The woman stood frozen. Her legs felt like stone. The monk turned slightly toward her. Up close, she could see his face clearly now. He looked neither young nor old. His expression carried a kind of deep quiet she could not explain. "You are safe. Go home quickly now," he said gently. She blinked, tears forming. A truck roared past the mouth of the alley. Its headlights swept across the walls. For a second, the alley was blazing with white light. When the truck passed, the monk was gone. The knife still lay on the ground. The rain still dripped from the dumpster. But the man who had been standing there had vanished like a breath on cold glass. High in the mountains, Siddhananda returned to the cave. His body trembled. Each time he crossed between moments, the experience left a strange echo in his mind, like hearing two pieces of music playing at once. He sat down again, breathing slowly. The cave grew silent. But in the depths of meditation, the river of time flowed before him once more. Moments flickered. Arguments. Robberies. A car about to skid off a road. A child standing too close to a railway track. Suddenly, something darker. The marketplace roared with life. Vendors shouted over one another. The smell of frying chilies and cardamom drifted through the air. Motorbikes squeezed past carts stacked with fruit. Children tugged at their mothers' hands, pointing at sweets. Thousands of lives, moving through one ordinary afternoon. Siddhananda stood at the edge of the crowd, still and silent amid the motion. To anyone watching, he looked like a man pausing before crossing the street. But his eyes were closed. Inside his mind, he searched. Not for thoughts, for a frequency. Every mind carried a faint signal. Fear, memory, identity, like a note played by a distant instrument. Siddhananda listened until one of them rang out clearly. A man. 32. Clerk at a shipping office. Standing near the tea stall, with a newspaper folded under his arm. A man who, in another timeline only moments away, would die in fire and shrapnel. The bomber. Siddhananda tuned himself to him. The connections snapped into place, like two magnets touching. A flash of the future slammed into Siddhananda's mind. The marketplace torn open by a thunderclap of flame, fruit carts overturned, metal screaming through flesh, people running, falling, screaming. Thousands gone. Siddhananda forced the vision away and downloaded the knowledge instead. A face, a name. A backpack hidden beneath a vegetable stall, a timer. A street 2 blocks away, where the bomber waited. He could not interfere directly. The rules of time were fragile. Pushed too hard, and the timeline shattered in ways even he could not predict. He disconnected and searched for another frequency. Honest. Siddhananda pushed the information across the connection. Across the market, the clerk stiffened. His hand froze halfway to the teacup. For a moment, he felt something impossible, like another mind brushing against his own. Images flooded him. A bomb, a man. A location. The words "call the police" echoed through his thoughts, though no one had spoken. He blinked hard. What? He muttered to himself. The world looked normal. Vendors still shouting. Tea boiling in kettles. Nothing strange. Yet the images would not leave him. His heart began to hammer. "You're imagining this," he told himself. But the details were sharp, too sharp. The bomber's face felt burned into his memory. Then he saw him, the man from his mental image standing in the crowd. Without fully understanding why, he pulled out his phone. His fingers trembled as he dialed the police hotline. I have information," he said, voice unsteady. "There's a man with a bomb in the marketplace. He's wearing a gray jacket. He's waiting on Bazaar Street." Silence on the other end. Then rapid questions. He answered them all, the strange certainty guiding him. When the call ended, he stared at the phone as if it had betrayed him. What did I just do? 2 hours later, police sirens screamed through the district. Officers swarmed the street. They dragged a man in a gray jacket out of the crowd in the market. Inside his duffel bag, they found detonators, maps, and a timer already set. News spread quickly. Major terror plot foiled. Bomb intended for crowded marketplace. The clerk watched the footage on television that night, pale and shaking. The bomber's face appeared on the screen. Exactly the face he had seen in his mind. Exactly the same. His stomach twisted. He sat alone in his small apartment, the glow of the television flickering across the walls. "How?" he whispered. He tried to remember where the information had come from. Had he overheard something? Read it somewhere? Dreamed it? But the memory was like smoke, there one moment, gone the next. All that remained was the certainty that something had touched his mind. Something that had known. The clerk turned off the television. The apartment fell into silence. His heart pounded in the dark. Somewhere deep inside him was the faint, unsettling feeling that the thought had not been his own. And that terrified him more than the bomb ever could have. At first, it was only a rumor. A story told quietly over tea stalls and bus rides. Someone's cousin in another city had seen a monk appear in the middle of a train platform just before a fight broke out. The moment he stepped between the men, their rage drained away as if someone had opened a valve. They dropped their knives and walked off in opposite directions, confused. Someone else swore a monk had warned a truck driver to stop moments before the bridge collapsed ahead of him. Another claimed that in the middle of the night, when thieves broke into his house, a voice had entered his mind like a calm wind. "Wake up." He woke. Turned on the light. The thieves fled. Each story ended the same way. No one saw the monk arrive. No one saw him leave. He simply appeared. And then he was gone. News channels eventually picked up the pattern. A foiled kidnapping in Delhi. A stampede prevented at a crowded temple in Varanasi. A bus driver in Nepal who suddenly felt an overwhelming urge to break seconds before a landslide crushed the road ahead. Again and again, witnesses spoke of the same thing. A saffron-robed monk. Quiet eyes. A face that seemed strangely ordinary and impossibly calm. Sometimes he spoke. Sometimes he only looked at them. Sometimes they heard his voice inside their own thoughts. The reporters needed a name. They began calling him the Phantom Swami. People argued about him on television panels. A mass hallucination, one psychologist insisted. Coincidences, said another. But the stories kept multiplying. Too many. Too precise. Too strange. A fisherman in Sri Lanka who suddenly turned his boat away from a clear horizon moments before a violent storm rolled in. A pilot who felt a sudden certainty to abort takeoff. A child who wandered onto a busy road, then stopped, as if someone invisible had gently held her shoulder. Every time, somewhere nearby, someone had seen the monk. Standing quietly, watching, and then fading back into the crowd like mist. Soon the stories changed. They were no longer just stories. They were prayers. A young woman walking alone down a dark street whispered into the wind, "Phantom Swami, please help me." A truck driver gripping his steering wheel through mountain fog muttered, "Swami, keep me safe." And sometimes, not always but sometimes, something answered. A sudden thought. A feeling. A calm voice inside the mind saying, "Stop. Turn left, wait." In the places where he had appeared, people began leaving things. At the marketplace where the bomb plot had been stopped, someone placed a small plate of flowers beside the tea stall. The next day there were fruits. Then incense sticks. Soon a little shrine appeared against the wall. No statue. Just an empty space where people believed he had once stood. A truck stop in Rajasthan built a small stone platform beneath a tree where a driver swore the monk had warned him of bandits. Pilgrims began leaving coconuts and marigolds there. In a fishing village on the southern coast, they tied saffron cloth to a wooden post where a monk had once been seen walking across the shore at dawn. Children touched the post before going to sea. Old women lit lamps there at night. No one knew who he was. No temple claimed him. No monastery could say he belonged to them. Some said he was a saint. Some said he was a spirit. Some said he was simply a man who had discovered a door inside the human mind that no one else knew how to open. But the people who believed in him did not care about explanations. They cared about something simpler. When danger came, when the world tilted toward chaos, there was someone who might hear them. Someone who could step across distance, time, and thought as easily as a man stepping across a room. And somewhere, beyond the noise of cities and the turning of the earth, Siddhananda listened. Not with his ears, but with the quiet currents of the human mind. Wherever fear rose like a sudden flame, wherever a desperate prayer formed in the silence of a heart, he felt it, a signal, a frequency, calling him. And like a shadow moving through the hidden corridors of time, the Phantom Swami went where he was most needed.